Okay, so the previous tutorial, I showed you guys how to do the kind of the write-on effect to have the stroke following the shape of the text, kind of like the S and the D. And I'm going to show you guys something a little different. So if you see the letter A, instead of like writing on the stroke, it's more like a morphing. The shape is morphing, kind of like what it shows over here. It start with like a stroke and it turned into a triangle, and then you will see kind of the kind of counterstay appear, and then you recognize as a A. So if you want to do more like a morphing shapes for your animated banner, hope this tutorial will help. Okay, so let me open the previous project that we left from the previous tutorials. Okay, so we have our animation for letter A, animation for a letter S and D, and then we will work on the letter A. Okay, so we got started with double click on our composition for our letter A, and let me turn the background off so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so we have our letter A over here. Same process. Let's duplicate the layer so we can mess with one and still have a backup for the layer A. So I'll make this called outline, and I'll hide that layer, and we'll animate this one. We'll call it like A like shape. Okay, doesn't matter as long as it's different. We know what it means. It's fine. Okay, so let's see what we can do for our letter A. So A is similar to our letter D. Instead of it's like a shape, it's actually composed with two part. So which is the inner A, which you can see the inner triangle, and also the outer shape of the A, which is like the kind of the silhouette, the outline for a letter A, and then it turned into the shape of letter, this letter. So we can totally take advantage of these two different path. So the one on the top, this is the inner A. Okay, so we can animate them separately to create the effect you saw earlier. To begin with, let's turn on our ruler. I think Command R is the shortcut. You can also turn the ruler on from the view under the menu. So we need to create 3 guideline. Okay, so it need to be like right on the points on the top and also right in the center. So eyeballing is probably not going to be accurate enough. Let's zoom in, Command plus to make sure it's like right in the center. Okay, and also the 2 points on the top also need to be right on the point. Okay, and this one needs to be a little bit in the center. Okay, so now they are kind of right aligned on the point, and we can start modifying the different points of the path. Okay, so we just turn on the list for the 2 different shape. One, we can call it like this one. We can you can hit enter to rename it if you want to make it a little bit clearer for you. So I'll call it like inner and outer. Okay, so that's a little bit easier to recognize. So let's start with the inner shape. I think it's a little bit easier. Okay, so let's just click on the little clock so we add a first keyframe. So we actually want it end with the triangle. So we put the keyframe in the back and move the playhead a little bit in front of it, and now we can change the position of that path. Okay, so let me select one of the point, and you can see with the guideline, it will like snap right on a guideline, which is the reason why we make the guideline. And also make sure to hold Shift, so the path will be locked in the vertical line. So we put it into the middle. Okay. Okay, and then also the top, if you didn't aware, it's actually 2 point. So we need to have both of them snap on the middle. Okay, so now we have the shape in the center. You can see it will be start with not seeing it, and then the triangle will expand. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we will want for the effect. Okay, next let's change the outer path for our letter A. Okay, so same method. We start with selecting one of the path. Okay, so if you had a hard time selecting it, you can first of all click on the path so you can see all the points highlighted. And if you can see, if you just click it, it will still select the whole thing. You can by like clicking outward and then clicking back in. That's one of the methods. You can select them separately, or you can go to use the pen tool. The pen tool can also help you select the points separately pretty easily. Okay, so we want the this point to center with the middle. Okay, actually very importantly, I forgot to add a first keyframe. So we definitely want to have a keyframe so the A will form to its original form. If you forgot to do that, well, then your A will like go back to the original. Okay, so make sure you add a keyframe before you mess with the shape. And on the second keyframe should be the final, like what the A look like. Okay, so we move the playhead ahead in front of the keyframe we created, and now we can move the keyframe. Okay, so again, hard to find it is a little hard to select, so we select the path first, and then click on it, or let's move to the point tool, click on outside, and then click it back in. Okay, so this one should be in the middle. Okay, and then this should also go into the middle. Okay, one at a time. Okay, and then I want the this point to go on the outer line. Okay, so it will start with like a stroke, and then it will expand like this. Okay, and also you can see because I have a little offset on the starting point for the keyframe, it looks pretty neat. And I want to add a little bit more effect on the outer A when it expand. I want it to stay in triangle for a little bit longer. So in the middle, I add another keyframe by modifying some changes. Okay, so select one point at a time, make sure to hold shift so it will snap. So you can see it will start with like a triangle, and then after a little bit, then the center reveal. So it just make it visually look a little more interesting, kind of like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to adjust the keyframe a little bit, and then again, now they're all linear, which we can totally make it more fun by adding some ease on the keyframe. So we select the inner A for the shape, and let's go to the graph editor. By selecting one of the point, we'd be able to add a little bit of the ease. So I wanted to have a more dramatic change, so it feel like it's fast and it is slow down. So it will look kind of like a snap. See, it kind of like open it up pretty quickly, and then it or actually, let's maybe try different, maybe see how this work if it's slightly different. Okay. Okay, I think I like the effect like this better. Okay, so also these, I also want a little bit different ease on these two. Okay, so I want to snap a little bit. So you can see it kind of have a little like snap, so make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, I feel like there's some like weird like space in the beginning, so I think it's probably some of the paths didn't align with the stroke properly. So yeah, I think something a little off over here. So by clicking the little triangle, we go to the keyframe where it started, and just make sure we select the point, zoom in a little bit better. You can see there's some like space. It's not like completely aligned, which caused some error. switch to the pen tool. It's a little bit, I think it's a little bit easier to select one the point this way. Okay. Okay, make sure it align a little bit better. Okay, this one could align better too. Okay, so make sure you are like lay right on the keyframe you selected. You don't want to add another keyframe. So make sure, again, you're changing the modification on the same keyframe you had. So using a little triangle, you can see you can switch between different keyframe you have, so you can make sure you're not eyeballing but accidentally like create a new keyframe that you don't actually want. See? Okay, so that's not what we want. So, oops. Okay, I'll just undo it. Okay, so it should be fixed. Now we have our shape of the A. Look like this. Okay, it looks pretty good. Let me move the workspace so we can view it a little bit better. Okay, so it looks pretty neat. And what our next step are pretty much similar what we did earlier. Oh, actually, before we add color, there's one more thing I want to do. So I want my stroke to have like a combination of the write-on effect to have the stroke kind of grow from the bottom, and then it will expand. So how can we do that? So we can just move our keyframe to the right a little bit, so we can add a little bit kind of how the stroke expand from the beginning over here. Okay, so pretty much what we did, similar method we had. All we need to do is create a path. Okay, now I think we are done with the ruler and the guideline. It's a little in the way, so I will clear the guide so we can see a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to create a path and make sure you're not selecting anything in your the A shape, and I'll just create a straight line. This will be our path for the letter A. And then similar method, what we did, we want to have a oops, it's on the track mat. Put it to the alpha mat for our stroke. And then we need to add a trim path on this mask. Okay, so trim path. And then we need to add an animation. So we wanted to start from like on the bottom. So it should end with 0% in the end value, and then go like 100% when it's reached. So we have that effect. Okay, but the problem is C. When it's play, when the egg spin, our stroke, our mask is not big enough to reveal the whole A. Okay, so this is a very this is a very easy fix. All we need is make our stroke a little wider until it match the whole A. Okay, so we just need to increase the stroke to make it match. Okay, so you can see the stroke now, it's like much wider. The stroke is much wider. White is a little hard to see, so I make it red. So I just need to expand on the stroke for the mask and make sure it covers the A completely. Okay, so now here we go. We have that. Okay. So same with the trim pass animation. We don't want to just be boring linear effect. A shortcut, I'll just add an easy ease, so there's some kind of change of motion here. Of course, you can increase the value a little more, so the animation will be a little more dramatic. Okay, so cool, looks good. There's a little still a little white space in there on the A. Just need to go in and fix the path. So I think I'll leave it this way. And if it's happened to you, make sure you clean it up. Okay, so now we have the animation ready. So pretty much the same thing. If you want to add a color for the same effect with all the other letters, you should know what to do now. All you need to do is have everything. Okay, actually we don't really need this. Okay, and just pre-compose everything we have. Pre-compose, this is A animated, or okay, any name that you can understand. So animated A, and we just need to make 3 duplicates, and then apply the cool color effect that we had with all our letters. Okay, so let's find the outline. Okay, so effects. So the effect for our D, for the fill, we copy it from our previous layer. And let's go back to our A animated. So letter A, and this should be applied the blue on it. So the one in the middle should be red. I'll just find it here. Apply it in the red. Okay, so pretty much done with the color, and you can use the same skill that you learned from the other tutorial. By copying the path, you can create the outline for the A, so it will look like kind of like simple what you show, and you can also apply like a white stroke drawing along with the shape in the middle to create the effect that you want. Okay, so hopefully this helped. So just a little different way to animate your text by going in, instead of animating just the shape layer on the trim path, you can also animate under the shape itself in the path. So that could, with the combination, you can get something pretty interesting.